Hi everyone, welcome to Building a Better Sefton. I'm Tim Short, and that, because it's sometimes in a different place when we finish the recording, is David Moorhead. David, how are you? How's the weather?
I'm very good. The weather's it's not bad. We've had that lovely bit of a heat wave, but we are heading into those dark Sefton nights.
Always the optimist. It's a real honour today to have Jack Colbert on. Jack is a local activist in South Sefton in the Seaforth area. He's a member of the Green Party, and he's also a potential candidate in upcoming council elections. So, Jack, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Few health issues, but I'm getting it up to be sorted out.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of health moving forward. But thanks for coming on today. And we've been trying to get you on for a while. You're a bit of a legend in Seaforth politics locally.
Welcome, Jack. Obviously, this is Building a Better Sefton. So how do you feel in your role? You're going to build a better Sefton, and how are you going to do it?
Well, it's going to be very hard because Labour is the dominant force within Sefton. And I just don't think they're doing a good job. If you want a better Sefton, is vote Labour out and put somebody else in who do a better job.
Have you got anyone in mind?
Yeah, I think the Green Party is very, very strong. I joined the Green Party because of Neil Doolin, the fantastic work he's doing. He reminds me of old Labour, where I was brought up. I was brought up in a very poor household in Seaforth. I was, you could say, indoctrinated by my parents to join the Labour Party and join the trade union with Labour through and through. And the Labour councillors and politicians them days used to live locally, knock on the door, come in for a cup of tea and work hard. And I think Neil Doolin is that old type of Labour individual, left of centre.
Neil has been on the podcast as well.
Okay.
One thing we've noticed is the Greens and people in the Green Party feel at liberty to come on and talk about things and don't seem like they've got anything to hide and seem to be quite open.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and Neil came on and he's been doing a great job in Seaforth, which was a very, very safe Labour seat. So do you think that the Greens have got the potential to get a few more seats in local council elections?
I think they do. I think they're very strong indeed. But it's convincing the residents of Sefton to vote for the Green Party. Basically what it is this historical thing. I've always voted Labour all my life and always will. That's changing. Well, people got to realise that Labour are not working for them in Sefton. And that's why you've got a bad services all over Sefton, from Bootle right to Southport, McGull, Aintree. That's why it's dominated by Labour. And Labour take the people's votes for granted. And they do nothing. They don't hardly any surgeries. They don't put leaflets out. And I think the Green Party is a strong party. And I think they'll do very well in power in Sefton.
And what do you think of Zach Polanski being elected? You were talking about being left of centre, and you say you feel Neil's left of centre. Are you happy with Zach being the leader of the Greens moving forward?
Well, Zach is a very great communicator, which the other two leaders wasn't very good. And he's very, very, as I say, a good communicator, and he's convincing what he says. Where I don't believe the other two leaders were convincing what they said to people. And he's very convincing, and he comes over as a real person.
I think he's certainly a great communicator, isn't he? And it's very hard to disagree with him, even if you're not aligned with the Greens politically. When he speaks, he speaks a lot of sense, doesn't he? Sorry, David.
Yeah, I was just going to say, perhaps it'll lead into the next question, actually. About what the Greens would do if they were in power, right, in Sefton, if people voted for your party. Can you comment on the Bootle Strand and how the Greens would have done things differently, what you think of the Strand?
Well, I feel very strongly what's gone on regarding the Strand. I mean, they bought the Strand for £34 million. They didn't ask the residents, can they use their money, their ratepayers' money, their council tax money. They just went out and bought the Strand for £34 million. and it wasn't good value for money. It was deteriorating in a terrible way. It needed a new roof, which would have cost millions and millions, and it's lost since 2017 between 8 to 10 million pounds. Now they've just got 20 million pounds to upgrade it and modernise it. If you add that up, it's nearly 70 million pounds.
Good grief.
Of taxpayers' money, and it's just not value for money. It's bad finance. It's ridiculous. 70 million pounds could have gone on lots of better services for the residents.
Yeah, that's a thing that keeps coming up, and there are some people who said that Bootle needs a good centre and it's important to have these little town centres. There's been others who said the money could have been spent better elsewhere, maybe on other little smaller centres around Sefton, but it certainly is an ongoing issue, particularly with austerity and all the cuts, particularly given that there's meant to be big shortfalls in the next 3 years of up to 45 million as well.
Because it leads, my next question then, it leads on because the overspend with Bootle Strand, if we move to children's services, which is now struggling with its own budget, have you got views on Sefton's children's services?
I certainly have. I was on the committee. I don't know if you know that I was a Lib Dem councillor for 10 years.
Right.
And I was on social services. I was on social service committee for a couple of years. And I had to come off because I just couldn't handle the stories. I was abused when I was a child, and I heard these stories that brought back memories. So I had to come off. And when I was on there, it was good. It was good. But when you look at the 2016 report, it was inadequate. And it had to come. And since 2016, it's been inadequate, good, inadequate, good, inadequate, good, and it's still many areas of social services and inadequate. It's terrible. There was a terrible situation when I was on the social services. 2016, it started to get inadequate when Labour took hold of the social services cabinet member. And when I was on, it was good. It was very, very good. But it's deteriorated since Labour's took over the cabinet member's position and since Labour has took control of Sefton Council. And that is certainly something's got to be done about that. And if the Greens take over, I'll certainly help within the to get that sorted. It's got to be sorted. We're letting children down, and I was abused when I was a child, and I know what these children are going through, and they need help, the best help possible, and it's not happening.
Do you have any thoughts on why Labour? I think you've shared the opinion before that you feel that Labour are putting a big focus on Southport because it's a bit of a swing seat. Is that something that you feel strongly?
Oh, that's what's happening. It's quite obvious that says Labour is putting everything, finances from the south of the borough into the north of the borough. They did it before the general election. They won the general election, got a Labour MP. They're doing it now because they're petrified of reform. Everything's coming back now from people I know in the Labour Party that they're petrified of reform, taking considerable amount of seats in Southport, and they're putting the finances in. And all the councillors from the south of the borough, Labour councillors, are there every weekend doing litter picking and cleaning up and doing everything in Southport and neglecting the south of the borough.
Yeah, and the fear of reform seems to be a big thing for a lot of people, other than even for the Conservatives. We know that the Conservative have just lost a councillor to reform, the first reform councillor in Sefton up in Southport. Obviously, the national polls is one thing. Yeah. There's lots of fears. I've noticed on local Facebook groups, I'm sure you're on some, there's a lot of really quite far-right stuff being shared on those. That doesn't necessarily mean, they're just the people who vote, those people who talk like that.
Well, yeah. I'm 71 tomorrow. I know I look 21, but I've got 4 black children. I have conversations with them, and they're petrified of reform. especially my son who's in the army, was a sergeant major, is absolutely despises reform in what he sees with them. And I agree with him. They're a danger to everybody. And when you speak to somebody who thinks they're going to vote reform, when you ask them, what does reform stand for? The first thing that comes out of their mouth is immigration. And I say to them, what else have they got? What are they going to do on education? What are they going to do overseas? What are they going to do about taxation? What are they going to do about the roads or anything else? People haven't got a clue. It's just immigration. And also, I tell these people who've got to vote reform that Farage wants to make the NHS private. We got to pay for it and have a private insurance, just like Trump of America.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you about reform, because if you look at their education policy, they want to stop teachers teaching certain parts of history. They want a patriotic history, but what they don't address is the big shortfall of teachers. So we actually don't have enough teachers in the classroom. Reform aren't interested in that. They just want to control bits of the curriculum that would be more patriotic, in inverted commas, but they're not addressing the key issues. And if you look through all their manifesto, that's what you get. I was just going to say the send provision is awful with reform, because Nigel Farage believes it's all made up, so they don't need any help. It's just absolutely frightening.
Well, he is. He's a danger. He's a danger, but he's brainwashed people to believe that he's the coming of the Messiah. He's not at all. He's the coming of the devil. He's the coming of the devil.
Yeah. Often, many people felt conned with the Brexit debate when he had the bus saying you get 365 million, was it, to the NHS, etc. We come out of Brexit. That's not true. Brexit, the NHS isn't getting that. Then he denies that he had anything to do with that bus advert. And they do say that once you've been conned, the con artist will return to that person and con them again. And I think the people who are voting for reform, are voting for failed Tories who con them about Brexit. But because it's got a new name, they think it will be different, which is just bizarre.
I mean, this is what cracks me up with people. They're easy brainwashed nowadays. I'm 71 tomorrow, as I said, and I've seen it at every general election. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And when they get in, they do nothing whatsoever. They do completely the opposite. Look at Boris Johnson. He conned Labour voters to vote for him. And look at him now. Yeah. He's a disgrace. Look what he's done. I keep telling these people, look at reform. They've only got one policy, and that's immigration. They've got nothing else. Don't vote for them. A wasted vote. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I was just going to say, I think that the issue with the immigration thing is they just seem to be mirroring what they think works for Trump. As you say, he's the Messiah. This kind of Trump thing now applied to Farage. If you look at the reform councils up and down the country, they're absolute shambles. Some of them have actually become a little bit more moderated and said, okay, we can't do some of the crazy stuff we said. But I think with Brexit, and I think the danger we've got locally is people are a bit peeved off, to say the least, with the Labour Party in Sefton, because they've been in for a while. They don't really like transparency. Some of them don't really come across as very nice people. And like Brexit, it's an anti-politics and a kind of angry response to things that means that people say, vote for reform, give them a chance, we need a change, we need something. But this isn't the kind of change that we're talking about in the past, where the Conservatives or Labour come in or whoever, where then you've got a chance of voting them out. We're talking about some very, very dangerous stuff that could happen if reform sweeps to power. And it may well happen in Sefton. We'll see what happens next year. Are you worried about the left dividing in terms of, Labour, Green, Lib Dems, different things?
Yeah. That's going to split the vote. Don't forget, you've only got two right-wing parties, the Conservative and Reform. On the other side, on the left, you've got about four parties. With the Corbyn party coming up, that's going to split the vote again. They're going to let Reform in when they fight against each other. Disaster.
I just wanted to say there's a lot of national themes which affect Sefton themes as well. It's all interwoven, isn't it? But that is a big danger. Sorry, David?
Say, what do you think the biggest change needs to happen in Sefton? But I think you've argued quite well that it's the removal of one party running the borough, and that party being Labour, and a more collective, all different parties working together will be much better for Sefton. Is that the biggest change, or is there another big change that's needed?
You've got to get rid of Labour. I mean, what it is when I come a councillor in 2000, there was 28 or 29 Labour. 25 of them were family members of the Dowds and the Marns. 25. It's a dynasty. It's unbelievable. The Dowd did. He told the Labour leader, if you don't go, we'll deselect you, so he can have his niece, Marion Atkinson, leader of the Labour Party. It's unbelievable. Joe Benton, who was Bootle MP, told me that Peter Dowd said to him, if you don't resign as the MP, we'll publicly deselect you, and that will be embarrassing to you. And what Peter Dowd did is put his name down, and he got the candidacy because the Bootle constituency is run by the Dowd family.
One of the big criticisms, and particularly in the south of Sefton, is those family connections, people who've been in place for a while, people who aren't always the most engaging with people. Now, we've had a number of people on from different parties. Now, I personally, I'm sure David and yourself would agree, there's a lot about the Labour Party historically that we would have identified with and affiliate with and want to do well, particularly coming from a left of centre perspective, perhaps. But the people in the south of Sefton, the seats are very, very safe, and it's not really conducive to transparency. And Mark Twain, I've said this before, said that underwear and politicians need to be changed regularly for the same reasons. And there was recently a leadership bid by James Hanson, who's a McGull councillor, to take over as leader, which, might not have changed things too much, but there was a chance there maybe to just get a new face in, see what happens. And people are angry with the incumbents. They're angry with the lack of transparency, and they're angry with the lack of engagement. And they seem to be, the Labour Party, supporting the National Party to the hilt instead of going, we disagree with this or we disagree with that. And I'm worried because, as you say, we can say, Labour, we need to change the scene or whatever. Reform are waiting in the wings. And it's very, very concerning that they just don't seem to be listening, the Labour Party locally, to try and change this culture. I just don't understand it.
I also think you're not the first person to come on here and comment about the family connections. Well, and it's shocking that in a democracy you've got so many. The MP, his wife, his nieces. Then there's another family, and it's the husband and wife, and then it's the son as well. And it just gives the impression that, as you quite rightly say, it's a closed shop, it's nepotism. And what message does that give to the young people of Sefton who might want to be political? That you have to be born into the right family. And that's just so wrong.
Basically, what it is that, as I said, as I was brought up, my parents told me to vote Labour and join the trade union. And these people historically vote Labour, and that's all they know. And that's why they've got safe seats. And these Labour politicians are arrogant, take people's votes for granted. And that's sad. That's sad because a lot of these Labour councillors don't even know. I live in Seaforth. I can't remember the last time I had a leaflet off the Labour council. I stood in Littlewood. I was knocking on the doors, and people were saying to me, I've never seen a councillor in 45 years of being here. I don't get a Labour leaflet because you're standing.
In Crosby, the constituency's been split. So I'm in Bootle. We get nothing from anyone. My friend two roads away, because they're Sefton Central, and it can be a swing. Absolutely loads and loads of leaflets. So ours is presented as a done deal, which is really poor.
And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you feel like you're getting a good service, because most seats don't change in general elections. Council elections might be different, but people should still be responsive. And we know it's tough, but people need to feel that your 3 local councillors in your ward are approachable and that you know who they are, even if it is a big majority. And it's the same with the MP. We've got 3 Labour MPs.
I'm working for
North,
you.
Central and South.
Right, this is a good question for you. What are you most proud of that you've done in Sefton?
There's quite a bit, actually, because as I said, I was a councillor for 10 years. I don't know if you know, I'm an ex-soldier, and I was severely injured in Northern Ireland. I help British service personnel, and I see, especially with the winter fuel allowance going last year, that was absolutely horrendous for pensioners. But I think the best achievement is when I was a councillor of Aintree, that had got a new doctor's surgery. Me and a parish councillor, Peter Gill, campaigned, and we worked with the health authority to get a brand new state-of-the-art doctor's surgery on Oriel Drive. And I think that was unbelievable. The response from residents was quite, it brought me to tears, actually. It was quite humbling. It was unbelievable. I don't take compliments easy. I get embarrassed by compliments.
Yeah, with the servicemen and then getting the doctor's surgery. That's amazing. Well done.
Tell you what I like doing, and you say that, which is a major achievement. I tell you what I like doing is when somebody phones me up with a problem, and I can get it sorted, and that person says, "Thanks, Jack." That's a great achievement. That's little things like that to me means more than anything. Why I left the Lib Dems, because they went in coalition with the Conservative parties in 2011 or 2010. I'm not a conservative in any way, shape, or form. I knew it ended disaster, and it did. I retired from politics, and I just said I'm too old for this. But what is going on? I had to come out of retirement, and I seen Neil doing his job as a candidate, and he won it. And I thought, I'm going to have a go again, because I'm sick and tired of Labour walking over people, and they need somebody who will work for them. And I believe I've got a track record of working for people.
What do you think's the main criticism that you might face? What do you think, if people said, "Oh, Jack, he's joined the Greens," what do you think would be your main criticism?
How could I put it without? I don't want to sound. Oh, what's the word for it? People don't care they're in the Greens. What it is that they want somebody to work for them, and they know that I'll work for them, and that's what it's all about. I've told everybody I'm in the Greens, and I've had no bad opinions. What is, Jack? If you get into power, or if you become a councillor, we know you work for us. You did it last time, and you'll do it this time. And that's what they want. They want people who they can trust and they can believe in, and not a con man. They don't want a con person. What I say, I'll do, and they know that.
Is there any particular reason why you like the Greens? You've said that you want to left the centre party, that you like Neil Doolin's work in Seaforth, he's the only Green councillor, that you like Zach Polanski. Yeah. Is there anything else that particularly attracts you to the Greens that would make you stay with them rather than maybe join your party or move to the Lib Dems or whatever? Is there something there that's important to you?
No. I mean, what it is climate change. It's climate change, looking after the environment. I love walking. I love taking the kids out. I love going into the woods and seeing the animals. I take my kids and my grandkids. I love it. I love going to the sea. I love going on a boat. My son's got a boat, and I love it. And I just look at what is happening to the world, and especially got Donald Trump today saying there's no such thing as climate change. It's a con. You know, this is the most powerful man in the world, and I don't think the Lib Dems, the Conservative or Labour, are really serious on sorting the climate change out and the environment. I don't believe them.
Yeah.
And do you know there's been a few issues with air pollution in the Seaforth area and in the Church Road area. Is there any particular? Do you know too much about that? Because there's huge area issues around that main road. So you've got the Port of Liverpool down at the docks, the Freeport. You've got Switch Island. They were going to do a big road through the Rimrose Valley, which is one of the only green areas of South Sefton. That was put to one side. Some people were saying, they need to do a big tunnel underneath to link up from Switch Island to the port. That was apparently too expensive. But the people who live on Church Road and its environs, there's been a lot of work done on the high levels of pollution. Now, Sefton Council seem to be in denial about that and not really wanting to engage. Have you got any opinions on that issue or any other environmental issues in the Seaforth area?
Oh, yeah. Well, what it is, you just asked me before about my achievements. One of my achievements is closing down Rawson Road School and St. John's School because of two schools. Rawson Road and St. John's on Rimrose Road had high levels of chest complaints in children, more than any other school in the borough. And that was put down to the docks and the carbon monoxide. And I worked with Liverpool. The pollution, I live by the docks. I can't leave my windows open. I can't put my washing out. It's absolutely unbelievable. People sent to the houses around here are carbon monoxide. And Sefton are doing nothing for Church Road. Marion Atkinson had a phone in on Radio Merseyside. I went on and asked Marion Atkinson, what are the Labour's plans to stop the carbon monoxide fumes on Church Road? And she didn't have a clue. She didn't have a clue. I said, I don't want one of the children to die on Church Road of carbon monoxide poison. And she just couldn't answer it. She couldn't answer it whatsoever. Steve Rotherham had the phone in on the radio regarding Church Road carbon monoxide and the increase in pollution on Church Road. He didn't have a clue. So you got the Metro Mayor and leader of the Sefton Council haven't got a clue and no plans to stop trying to reduce the carbon monoxide. I just feel sorry for the people of Church Road and the surrounding areas. When you got politicians who don't care, they just don't care.
I know Ed Conley's done a lot of work. I've shared one of his videos on our Facebook group about the high levels of pollution on Church Road. And although he says that if you go a street or two away, it diminishes. If you're living near the main road and we know that the whole of London, they've tried to do stuff in London, the whole of London has got illegal levels of pollution everywhere. And it's this thing that people are not willing to acknowledge. Politicians don't want to acknowledge it. National governments don't want to acknowledge it because it's basically saying people are going to be dying of this, but the economic benefits or whatever, it's just too hard to go there. And it's a huge kind of darkness at the centre of politics that they're not willing to look at this and address it because there are no easy solutions. But let's at least get it out there. You know, you've got people like denying climate change and all that, but this is something, if they were living near these areas and they knew about these high levels of pollution, they would want something done about it. Yeah.
No, we'll keep fighting and done.
At the end of the day, it's up to the people to vote these people out. The Green Party have got to convince the residents that we can do a better job than Labour, and I believe we can. But we've got to convince them. We've got to get out on the ground, knocking on doors, put the leaflets out, and show the residents that we're serious.
Thank you so much for coming on, and especially highlighting the pollution issue in Seaforth and how it has to be resolved. It has to be dealt with, and the only way it really can be is for people to use their vote wisely. And you would say vote the Green Party because currently Labour are not tackling that issue whatsoever. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your views, and good luck with your campaign.
Thanks very much indeed for having me on.
Cheers, Jack.
Bye.